Hola familia de humanidad. Hello family. Salut la famille. Today we are at las ruinas de Copan. I will tell you everything about the story of Copan and how the 13th king got captured and his head got cut off. Wow. Hello family, it's your brother Wallace. So today we are at Copan and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the story of Copan. I'm going to go in details about the different structures. The biggest glyph in all the Maya kingdom is here in Copan. It's the stairway. I will tell you everything about what does it mean, different stela, different temples, different pyramids, a lot of knowledge. So stay tuned and let me tell you the story of Copan. Copan was one of the biggest capital of the Maya. It's a city situated just over the border of Guatemala and Honduras, ruled by a dynasty of 16 kings around 400 AD to 820 AD. The city ancient name was OX-WITIKS, which means 3 witiks, which means 3 obscure mountains. The emblem of the city, the emblem glyph, was kind of a bat. Something similar as a bat, something like this. City core used to cover an area of 250,000 square meters. In fact, Copan, the valley of Copan was habited for around 2,000 years. But what we see here, everything was built from 480 to 820 AD. Contains the Great Plaza to the north, behind me, and then the Acropolis over there. It is said that the population here in Copan reached close to 25,000 people. 10,000 people were living in and 15,000 were living out in the mountain or in the modern day ciudad o pueblo que se llama Copan Ruinas. Before any rock construction here in Copan, Copan was occupied because it's in the valley of Copan and it's super fertile for agriculture. So that's why it was occupied for more than 2,000 years. Before the founder arrived here, there were some people living here. The earliest date we found here in Copan date back to 321 BC. But we don't have any more explanation or information about that date. We found another really early date which refer and link to a date 208 days before 159 AD. And this date, we also have a little bit of information. It refers to an area in the Betang region. Archaeologists believe that this region is actually El Mirador. And eventually in the future video, we are going to El Mirador. It's a really big site. Earliest date we know for sure is 426 AD when a warrior named Kukmu Aja, later renamed Kinix Yak Kukmu, arrived here in Copan and refounded that site and decided to establish it as the new capital of the Maya kingdom. Archaeologists believe that this warrior came from Tikal because of the isotope test they did on the bone that they found in the tomb. Interesting. So if he came from Tikal, he walked a really, really long way. I also believe he came from Tikal because in Tikal, I haven't been there, but from my study, there's one text that referred to the date 406 AD and mentioned the name Kukmo, which is his name, Kukmo Aja, eventually renamed when he arrived here as Kinixiak Kukmo, and he arrived here in 426. So 20 years later, after that text in Tikal mentioning Kukmo, we have this warrior arriving here in Copan and establishing it as one of the biggest Maya capitals. But I even went deeper into my research, and I have a hypothesis, or maybe a theory, that this warrior, Kukmo Haja, before being at Tikal, came from Teotihuacan. Because when he arrived here and established the capital of the Maya kingdom in 426 AD, the style of construction that he started used the same style as Teotihuacan, called talud tablero. Another proof of my theory is later he also got the title of Ochkin Kalomti, and that title also came from Teotihuacan. Archaeologists believe that they found his tomb under the Temple 16. His tomb and some bones remains were with a lot of jades, a lot of offering, some bone, some bone that were worked, a lot of pottery, and it's from those bones remain that they did an isotope test to believe or maybe hypothesis or think that he died around the age of 55 to 70 years old, and that he came from Tikal because from the bones they know he was not a local here in Copan. Not far away from that tomb in Temple 16 with the remains of the founder Kinixiak Kukmo, we found another tomb with the remains of a woman. It is believed that it was his wife. And the isotope test that the archaeologists did on the bone remains of that other tomb tells us that it was a local woman. The beginning of that dynasty, from the information that we have, looks something like this. A warrior came from Tikal. Before he was at Tikal, he was probably from Teotihuacan, but he came from Tikal. Arrived here in Copan. Meet that woman. Together, they built that dynasty. This big boom. This big construction. Everything started when Kinich Yaks Kukmo arrived in Copan in 426 AD. A couple years later, something really special happened. The city, a Maya city called QUIRIGUA, which is only 50 kilometers north from here, was under the control of Copan for a really, really long time because QUIRIGUA was known as the trade route because they had a lot of resource of jade, of obsidian. And like I said, Copan controlled that city since the beginning. But in 738 AD, something changed. During that year in 738 AD, the new king, it was a brand new king of Quirigua, decided it was over. They were not going to stay under the control of Copan. So the new king took his army and went head to head against Copan. Even though they were a lot smaller, we're talking a big difference. The population of Quirigua was around 5,000 people, and the population of Copan was around 25,000 people. But still, Quirigua won. They captured the king. Guess what happened to the king? I told you at the beginning. The new king of Quirigua captured the king of Copan. At that time, his name was Uaxaclaho Ubacawil. And a couple days later, after he captured him, he cut his head. Yeah, I know, that's crazy, but this is what happened. He cut his head, and then Copan went into a phase, a really difficult phase, a phase of like everything was slowing in Copan, because after that, you see your king got captured by a really smaller city that was a friend of yours before. It's tough. I truly believe that Quirigua won that battle because they received help from another gigantic capital of the Maya. We will see this in the next episode when we go to Quirigua, when I go back to Guatemala, because I'm in Honduras right now. But I'm pretty sure they received the help of a gigantic capital of the Maya. After having their king captured and the head cut off, everything slowed down in Copan. From the 8th century to the 9th century, the population went from 25,000 people to 5,000 people. The construction completely stopped. And the archaeologists also talk about the Great Drought, which hit all the Maya civilization actually. So the end of this reign, of this wonderful kingdom, was really close. Nobody is really sure why all the Maya civilization were depopulated around the same time. But one thing that is for sure is when the Spanish arrived in the 16th century here in Copan, everything was abandoned. No more people were living here. It was empty. So probably around the 9th century, everyone here in Copan went away. And this is the end of the story of the Copan civilization. But then, there's so much more knowledge here. So let me get into the details of that knowledge, because this is a site that is really unique. The longest glyph in all the Maya civilization is here in Copan. It's actually right there. So let me tell you more about this glyph in the next video. It's the longest glyph in the whole Maya civilization. Over 2,500 glyphs are over there, and I did tons of research. I mean, most of the time that I was studying Copan, I was studying about this. A lot of people will tell you they don't know what that means, that big text. I think I know, and I have really good source, mixed source from different places. So watch the next video and I'll tell you more about this, the 7 other layers, not under these temples. There's another temples over there in the Acropolis. The temple 16, which has 7 other temples underneath. I will tell you more about this also. and also about a really nice stela telling the story of the different kings, the 16 different kings that ruled Copan. Familia Humanidad, Family Humanity, La Famille de l'Humanité, thank you for watching this video. I hope you love the story of Copan. I loved being here and exploring and feeling the energy of that Maya site. Next, after Copan, we're going to Quirigua. Follow me. If you like this, give a little like. Maybe a little subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Love you.